My name is Lance Rachat, General Superintendent for the Erection Company. I'm a member of Local 86 Executive Board. I've been an Ironworker since the time I was 18, about 31 years. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Thank you, Brett, Carolina. Look forward to sharing this information with you. It's basically a representation of my career. I started in 1984 with the idea of sharing with you my experience over the last 31 years and how I learned the things that we were doing wrong early on and how it affected market share and how we've changed. So to get started, anybody have an idea how many ironworkers there were in 1984 when I started in the trade nationwide in North America? Take a guess.
5,000.
That's okay. A lot of people guessed that. 185,000 ironworkers. Some numbers are a little lower than that, 165, but for this illustration, I'll use the higher number. A lot of ironworkers. 3 football stadiums full of ironworkers in the US and Canada, 1984. Any idea how many ironworkers there were in 2004, 20 years later?
400,000?
A lot of people think that. Most people think it grew. The fact is we were down about 85,000. So I'm going to illustrate how we lost 100,000 ironworkers in the first 20 years of my career. There's more than one reason. I'll go through them rather quickly and then I'll go through them one at a time after that. But ultimately the reason we lost that many ironworkers is because owners stopped awarding work to employers that hired ironworkers. No one single reason, but several of them, and I'll share them with you. So we had problems. We had problems with safety. We had problems with drugs and alcohol. We had problems with our attitude. We had problems with corruption. All unions did. We had problems because of this. We had problems with public perception. We had problems with lack of education. And then lastly, we had issues with what I call protectionism. So back in 1984, before then, and some years after, people were getting hurt or worse. And we thought it was okay. It wasn't. We had problems with drugs and alcohol. The whole industry did. Even to this day, there's problems with it. We had problems with our attitude, feeling of entitlement. Corruption, public perception, lack of education, and protectionism. So as far as safety goes, we've turned that around. 2004, Impact is born. And with Impact, the standards of excellence as well. So they address safety, and everybody does nationwide now. We have 1 death per 15 million man hours. The industry average is 1 per 3 to 5 million man hours. So we're 3 to 5 times safer than the rest of the industry nationwide. So we've turned that around in a big way. Drugs and alcohol. We've had a drug-free workplace in the state of Washington for 20 years. Impact implemented one about 10 years ago. So we have a nationwide drug-free workplace. Are there still problems? Yeah. Are they isolated? Yes. We're over the curve here in Washington now. No longer is it acceptable. It's no longer tolerated. So as far as attitude goes, back in the 80s, there was this belief of, like I say, entitlement. Hooray for us and boo for you. And now, today, it's a cooperation and professionalism and simply respect. That there buys us work. Corruption, we police ourselves now. The feds help with that. But more importantly, unions back in the day, well known for corruption. I mean, it's highly publicized. Is that fair? I don't know. But that was the perception. So someone like myself, a general superintendent, might have been cheating the company. Employer might have been cheating the owner. Business managers might have been taking advantage of the rank and file. No longer is that accepted. Police ourselves is the message. So as far as corruption goes and these problems here, public perception starts to work against you when you have these things going on. In the state of Washington now, that we're doing all of these things right, public perception's turning the other way. We're 20% union, 20% union in the state of Washington. Some numbers are 18%, 22%, from a low of 12%. So the pendulum is swinging back our way because we're doing these things right. If you read the paper or watch the news for more than a few days, you see where people are sick of low wages and poor situations as far as employment goes. Unions offer a good working wage, good working conditions, and full benefit package. We're doing a good job of marketing that. And some of those reasons are why you guys are all sitting here. When I started, there was a 3-year apprenticeship. It was at night, and at the end of it, that was it in 1984. No longer is that the case. Continuous education is the expectation. So with regards to your careers, when you're done with this 4-year apprenticeship, you'll be expected to continue in the journeyman upgrades. There's technical training, there's safety training, there's leadership training, there's management training, there's contractor training, there's political training. There's no shortage of education available, and you'll need to make that part of your career continuous. All the other trades are doing it as well, and we're competing against them. So as far as protectionism goes, when you're losing jobs like this, and this is still going on around the country, you tend not to be willing to bring in other ironworkers. It takes some courage to bring people in, like we've brought all of you guys in, and the other 400 apprentices like yourselves in Local 86. With protectionism, when this number turns around, you're unable to man the work. So a little bit more about this number. In 2004, Impact is born. We're turning these around. The numbers start going up. So in 2007, we have 115,000 ironworkers. There's enough work to probably do about 140,000 ironworkers. We don't man that work because we're underfunded with people because we're protecting our jobs. That work gets done by others, non-union, carpenters, laborers, operators, other trades. Well, after 2007, the bottom falls out of the market. 2008, 2009, we drop down. We have a pretty steep decline, 40% unemployment across the U.S. in the construction market. About 2012, depending on who you talk to, we turn it around. So the curve is straight up. So we're at about 125,000 ironworkers right now and growing. 17,000 apprentices. And they're reporting about $1 trillion worth of construction spending nationwide right now. In 2007, 2008, about $800 billion. So the numbers are there to support more ironworkers. We're as many as 11,000 welders short right now, they say, across the U.S. 10,000 rodmen a year, they say, across North America. So there's work available. Seattle, the fastest growing market in the U.S., they say, fastest growing city in the U.S., you're in a great place. What we're doing now, rather than protectionism, is we're organizing. We've spent $8.6 million on organizing last year alone. So we organized 1,600 members nationwide, I believe, is the number, not counting the ones that move straight into the apprenticeship. Maybe some of you fit that bill. I know Seattle's taken in a lot of people. So my message is generally this. When I started in the trade back in '84, I was doing some of these things wrong. You'll get on projects where people are doing these things wrong. I'm here to tell you it didn't buy us one more minute of work. So if you can influence others when you're out on site, you can make this number go the right way. By doing these things wrong, I'm here to tell you that the number goes the wrong way. And the goal is to get to 160,000 ironworkers. I believe the dollar value supports that if we can get away from these things, these problems. Start doing this properly. Being efficient was always what we did. We work hard. We're the most efficient trade, hands down. It's not enough. Proves not to be enough. You need to be safe. You need to be drug-free. You need to have a respectful and cooperative attitude. You need to resist corruption. In turn, public perception comes our way. You need to continue your education, and you need to believe in organizing. If I were to ask each and every person sitting here, my experience is that 9 out of 10 of you knew somebody that was an ironworker, and that's how you wound up in the trade. So as you move along in your career, be that same person who influences people to come into the trade. We need that. It just tends to be, it's no coincidence, in other words. An ironworker knows if someone like you would be able to be an ironworker, so I would influence you to do so. The last thing I think I want to share is this. As you move along your career, you will experience some of the same things I experienced. The first 6 years of your career, you're learning the trade. You really don't know much and everybody else knows everything, but you're finding your way. So at about this point in your career, you start to know what it is you like. You start to specialize. You start to influence others. So this point in your career, you can really become an influencer. You can become a leader. And this point in your career, you more than likely are knowing exactly what you want to do. You're bringing other people into the trade. You might be a foreman, you might be a general foreman, you might be an owner, you might be in politics. In some form, you need to be able to give back to the trade and be willing to. Now, if that's just showing up and working safe, drug-free, great, that's enough. But each and every one of you has your own desires and beliefs and abilities, and we all have to give back in some way. I'm here to tell you that if the employers and the tradesmen, if we work together, and that's what Impact is about, and the standards of excellence support that. When we work together, and that's what we have to do, the owners have no other choice but to award work to us. Because we're the most efficient, we're the safest, we're drug-free, kicking every other trade's butt at that, and it's being recognized by the owners and the insurance companies. And if you can be cooperative and professional, you are going to leave them no choice but to pick you. If you can organize and man the work, leave them no other choice than to award work to the ironworkers. So as you move along in your career, you're going to work for people that are still living in the 80s. And I was one of them guys. As I took a leadership role, I was doing it wrong. And it took me till right about here to realize it. And I was failing miserably. I turned it around personally. Now the ship takes a long time to get turned around. It's a slow process. And I'm here to tell you that you guys can have a profound effect on moving forward. Because if this keeps going, we cease to exist. We had to turn it around, and we have. So I'd like to encourage all of you guys and gals to keep an open mind. We all took an oath. And during that oath, and in that oath, there's some verbiage about being respectful to others in word and action. If you can do that alone, you can make a difference.